6 o'clock. Peg,
Okay,
did you say the pledge, please?
we're all gonna stand. Is this flag in the, right there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let me go by the screen. I think Paul's first. Do you have anybody in there with you, Paul?
I do not.
Okay, I don't either. Nate?
I do not.
Peg?
Nope.
Earl?
My wife is in the next room, Michelle Sussman.
Okay, Emily?
Nope.
Okay, Steve? Okay, Jan?
Just my cat.
Okay, that's a good. Melissa?
Not right now, but will be shortly.
Okay, Tim?
Nope.
Just myself, the family might pass through, but
Tammy?
No, I don't.
Robert? What's that? Bob?
My wife's in the other room named Jane.
Okay, John?
nope. Hello.
Okay, Chris Farrell?
Nope, nobody else.
Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order at, okay, I want to thank Tammy Crandall. She went above and beyond the call of duty. She posted the notice with the phone numbers for the individual people to call in so they could listen to the meeting. Mrs. Crandall, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks,
I
Tammy.
appreciate everything else that everybody else.
Welcome.
I may not get to all of you. Okay, moving on. We'll go to the public hearing minutes for Wednesday, March 11th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 11th, public part of it, with corrections sent to Tammy.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Paul? Okay. All right. Paul?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Peg?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Emily? Emily?
Take off the mute.
Aye.
Okay, I lost you. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, that's okay. All right.
I'll do sign language.
That's good too. I can understand that. Wednesday, March 11th, the non-public?
I'll make a motion to approve the non-public of March 11th with any corrections that were sent to Tammy.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, okay. Hey, Earl, we did straighten out the error. Thanks.
Thank-
All right. Sorry.
It's all right, Tammy.
Don't worry.
We want to hear what he said about you. Paul? You okay, Paul?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, all right. Peg?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Okay, going to Wednesday, March 16th, emergency public hearing meeting minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the public hearing, emergency public hearing meeting minutes of March 16th with any corrections sent to Tammy.
I'll second.
Paul again, okay. Now I'll do the same thing. Paul?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Peg?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Okay, going to Wednesday, March 25th, remote public hearing meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the remote public hearing meeting minutes of March 25th with any corrections that have been sent to Tammy.
Have a second?
Second.
Oh, okay. I'll start with Paul again. Paul?
Aye.
Myself, aye.
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 Emily? Melissa?
Aye.
All right. Okay, that takes care of that. Earl, you are up.
Okay, thank you. First of all, we have to commend the whole staff and administration parade. The parade was unbelievable. And thank Al Goodwin for the great tape that he made. It really was inspiring. And we can't commend everyone enough. Now, as we go into this update, from the outset, we talked about 3 strands. and everyone has done an amazing job. And in terms of remote learning, we responded. That was the first strand, and each of the administrators and Rob Qua from SPED will go into that in the updates on there. Number two, all the paras and the bus drivers and Chris Farrow, who's on the line here in providing food, and that has been extraordinary. I'd like to thank Nate and Chris Farrow. There has been a lot of work done in terms of as we combine with CAP and working with the state, and that's been very dynamic. And in each strand, as we talked about, there are so many people that have spent untold time at an instant, on a dime, making that change, making that adjustment in a completely new model under the stress there is. The third aspect is the SPED is therefore, Rob, we've talked almost every day. He has reached out and tried to work with each of the folks of the students, and as difficult and stressful and anxious it is in terms of the prescriptive nature. Now, the fourth strand that we've added, and as you go, you learn and you adjust and adapt. Right now, we're looking at the stress and the anxiousness and the time and the effort that goes into schooling students at home. And we're working very hard to alleviate that and communicate with the parents. And this is something that we are taking a look at. Now, toward this end, there's several things in This Is New I would like to stress, and then each of the principals and the people involved to the specific aspects that they're working on in each of their schools and with each of their age groups. The first one is as of this week, we're going to 4 days of academic instruction. The 5th day is a flex day. Social, emotional, check-in, spirit, parade type activities, which we've already made the transition kind of into. But we're going to say that at this point, there is only going to be a 4-day week, 4-day instructional week. Going along with this, during the traditional vacation, we're going to not interrupt everything, but the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th will be no new learning. The only thing at the high school level will be recovering the competencies, which is basically the students in making things up. So there'll be no new work, and it will be the Friday type of activities that will occur Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday and Friday will be no student activity at all. It will be professional planning, collaboration, and prep time on the part of the teachers and parents, so that they will be kind of assessing where they are, taking a look and using that time for professional development. Kind of a unique professional development, and everything is unique. The whole paradigm has changed.
Earl, I think, Paul, do you have a question, Paul?
Just a quick question. So basically that week, there'll be no learning taking place unless it's makeup?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make, and then the last 2 days of teacher's workshop.
And that's only occurring Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is that, and then Thursday and Friday, there's no student interaction. It's
So
like
basically teacher's workshop. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we will end school on June 10th. So school was supposed to end the week afterwards. This way, we could have a finite end, and hopefully everybody could go outdoors, and things will be back somewhat to the way that they are, and people can enjoy the week that they would have had then. Now, go, Paul.
Did they waive the 180-hour thing?
Hours is what we're going to. You're talking about days.
I mean days, I'm sorry.
So the board would be agreeing to, in essence, which we've done every year, is the hours versus days
Okay.
part of the proposal I have. And basically, all schools are going through a hybrid.
I just
Now-
want to make sure the public knows that.
Yeah, Paul leads me to the next point. Right now, the commissioner, I was on a call with him today again, and what they're basically saying is, be prepared for remote learning beyond May 4th, but there'll be no formal, they won't formally let us know from the state till next week. They're looking by the 17th to let us know where things are. So therefore, they're trying to synchronize, take a look at the governor is, when restaurants may open up, when things like that would occur, because they're looking at the whole picture of what society will look like. Now, so therefore, at our next board meeting, we'll be kind of addressing where we are. But at this point, from this point on, it'll be 4 days of academic instruction, and Fridays will be as I said. Now, if they definitively say that we will be on remote learning, we can look at the possibility in May, will we even take the Friday of that week off? We won't do anything at all. We won't even deal with the check-ins. Or do we want to then possibly even end school on June 5th? So that will be the discussion amongst the administration and the staff and the parents, and we're going to kind of see where we are. So right now, to alleviate the stress and the anxiety. Also, too, there will be surveys going out. They already have gone out in kindergarten and 5th grade. Each of the principals are working on further surveys to ascertain for parents, how is remote learning going? How is there a need to cut back on the amount that students have work? John Safina, when he goes through in Jan, John has done, I won't take away from what each of the folks is doing, but he's gone back and worked with his staff and with his teams and so forth. And he's cut back in certain areas in the amount of work that the students have a day. And the last part, I will have each of the administrative team speak about where they are and focus upon some of the areas that I just discussed. Just like last time, we'll start off with John Safina. John?
John, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Thank you. Okay. I need a producer here. So for just the second part of my report, I just want to go over the student accountability forum that Christy has been working with the staff, which basically separate Google forums where the staff check in, the students check in. We're also seeing which students that may need assistance, that are not checking in at all, they're not doing work that we need to reach out to, and so forth. So that's a good forum for accountability. We are seeing around an 80% attendance, so that's good. Which was higher, but that's legally it's counted as the day. So just to back up, as Earl was saying, that we're looking at long term here, and there are many things that the state has been working on and the school has been working on. They came out with, all the educational associations in state came up with some guidelines, recommendations. They're not necessarily something we need to follow, but they are recommended, and they had some good parameters and good guide to go with it. So the process that's in my report, I think you guys have got this, right? That summary. So
Yes.
that basically talks about the process that I was using to develop the guidelines with the staff. And today we met as a leadership team, and we came up with a breakdown for basically not just how many minutes per day, but how many minutes of instruction, and counting other things, and how many minutes for Unified Arts and how often for Unified Arts, and that additional special services would be, part of the day as well. So it kind of gave a breakdown of the entire day. So I can email this to you. Gonna do that, Earl? Or want me to I'll email it to everybody?
Yeah,
that's a good
that would
idea.
be good.
Give them a thumbnail sketch of the breakdown, grades by grades, like in kindergarten.
Yep, I'll give you the breakdown and then I'll send it to you. So kindergarten and first grade is 45 minutes of instruction. Additional daily Google Meet Hangouts, approximately 15 minutes. So it's 45 minutes of the independent work, and then what they do is there is a Google Hangout with the kindergarten teacher or a Google meeting with the first grade teachers. Grades 2 and 3 would have 60 to 90 minutes per day, and grades 4 and 5 are 90 to 120 minutes. In addition to that, Unified Arts, which are specials, would be 1 per day for the 4 days. And we're saying library, music, art, and technology. And those lessons, 15 to 30 minutes. And that's once per day on top of the first part of that. Then physical education, we have, there will be 1 assignment, and they can choose the day they want to do that, but there's a 15-minute movement break. It's basically their recess. We're counting as PE and so forth, that we want them to get out, we want them to keep moving. So we're counting that as part of the day, along with 1 day of a physical ed assignment. And then if there are special services, there like guidance, will meet with students, special education, might be doing small group instruction from like the reading specialist, Title I. Those will be scheduled individually and will be part of that. Any questions on that before I move on? There's a couple other things.
Anybody have any questions for Emily?
Well, I have, it's more of a like a comment. Being on the other side of it, being a mom that's actually doing the work with kids, and also a mom that's talking to a lot of other families, and that I appreciate the cut down in the hours of academics. But I think sometimes we have to take a step back and look even more. Like, for example, sometimes just the checking in, when you have a lot of kids, just the checking in on a bunch of different activities, or I got to do Unified Arts and stuff, it becomes very overwhelming. And it doesn't seem like on paper it would be a big deal to be like, okay, your activity today is to play a board game and then email me 3 sentences. But it is when you're the one overseeing all of that and making sure that kids are actually doing that. And for me personally, we've got it down to a science with like the core subjects, but that's really all that we have time to do. And I have 5 kids. I have 2 more moving in on Friday. I have 7 children. All I can do is the core subjects. That's all that I can do. And I know that I'm not the only person experiencing that. So I'm just voicing that concern that it's sometimes something that looks like 15 minutes on paper isn't 15 minutes at home when you have to actually set kids up and send this kid over here and send that kid over there. It's not that simple when everybody's doing something different.
I did get a couple of letters from a couple of parents, and I'm going to see if some way I can get them to Earl and the administration. I'll have to drop them off to Kathy, but they were for a couple of parents that text me. Yeah, go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
debating whether they should even do any assessments or any report cards or grading because of the way the situations are, and it's not fair to kind of have a standard grade when all the situations are different. So we're looking at pass-fail. This is a proposal we've made rather than doing a whole individual report card.
Emily?
And I think that that's an important piece of it, John, like you said, is assessment, because listen, I'm comfortable and I think if parents, you just do what you can, but it's stressful when you think about the fact that there's going to be a report card, you know? So, because I think we just have to take that step back and realize that this is a very unique time and people can only do what they can do. Some people are still working, you know, so I think it's fine. So it's not to put stuff out there for kids to do, but I think that parents need to know that it's not, it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. You know what I mean? And I think assessment is a big part of that. Like, I think what you're saying, I'm agreeing with you. It's how do you assess kids, especially when you can't control for their environment, you know, control that environment that they're learning in. So.
John, do you have any more?
No, I guess I'm questioning, what do you mean if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done? I mean, I think there are lots, this is why we're going to the 4-day. And, you know, I don't want to seem like extra credit. This is their schooling. So, I mean, I guess I need clarification on what our expectations are and what the expectations the staff are following up with students. I mean, we've reached out. We have paras working with students individually. We have special ed services continuing. We are now going to have the remediation day, so they're can work with students through Google Chat. Some of them have done Google Chats individually to help students through things. So I don't want the families to feel stressed out, but I also don't want it to be like, well, if you get to it, okay. If not, no big deal. I mean, I don't want to make it, I want to make it a little deal. I don't want to make it stressful, but I think that I want to be able to support the families. And that's why we're sending out these surveys and we're asking from the very beginning, we're like, what do you need? And Mrs. Doan is doing that, you know, and we're going to reach out to kids and reach out to families that are struggling to have the kids do the work. I mean, we've had different issues where we have done interventions with the family and with the students to help get them in a place where they could do the work. So I want to be careful with that. So that was it.
And I want to be careful with the fact that we don't know what's going on in people's homes, and just there's only so much time in a day, and there's only so much time that people can give to school in a day. And the teachers are doing a great job supporting, but it's still a screen to a screen, and there's scheduling issues. And I just think we need to be flexible.
Yeah, I think it's kind of along the same line too. On like, I have 4 people here, 4 students learning, you know, 6th, 8th, 10th, and 11th most of the week. One of them gets it done by Monday at 9:30 in the morning. He's done. The other one gets it done at 3 o'clock, just barely making it. You know, I think it all depends on the student. It depends on the desire. And plus, at the same time, you know, there's someone here working full time from home, and I'm taking 2 days off a week just to do the schooling portion of it. So, I mean, it's hard to, and I agree with John saying, look, if it's done, if it's done, if it's not, if it's not, I don't think that's, I think the work is, I mean, on an average school day, yes, granted, they're in school. I mean, they average what, 3 to 4 hours of engaged learning per day. When homeschooling, they're, you know, depending on the grade, anywhere from 1 hour to 3. I mean, I guess it depends on, like, for instance, Emily's case, she's going to have 7 at home. Good luck. You know, it's going to be way different than 1 student. I can handle 1 student or 2 students doing this, but once you add to the workload, I think it's hard to craft this to every household in Milton. It just can't happen. So we're going to have to find a way to, you know, to make that work.
Can I ask Rob speak, then I'll go back to Emily.
I think that's a really good point. The main thing we need to understand is we are never going to be able to cover all the needs and all the unique circumstances in every household. So I think we can create something that goes home with language along the lines of, these are the expectations for the student. However, if you have to make different decisions because of your own household situation, we understand that. We're not going to change the expectation, but we understand.
Exactly, and I think that's what I'm trying to say, because we don't know what every household is facing. Everybody has their own battle. And so I have nothing against sending home expectations, but the reality is they're not all going to always be met, and that has to be okay.
And we're not having 100% right now, and that's why we still are reaching out to families. Some of them are just getting online as we speak. You know, like just this week we got them to start doing work. So that's why we want to keep, you know, providing the supports and keeping the surveys going and encouraging parents to reach out to us to provide what support we can. And there are a lot of things I think that we can still do. And I think the report card going away is alleviating, would alleviate some stress that we're not looking to grade. We're doing a pass-fail, so basically staying engaged and keeping the learning going. And we're not looking to penalize any of the kids. We're not looking at retention if they don't do the work. I mean, if they do nothing, we have to cross that bridge. I mean, there are interventions we would need to do for any student, whether it's in school or out of school, if they won't do the work. And it's kind of falling on the same lines. The kids that really wouldn't do the work in school, that we have to like get plans into place for them, we're still doing that even remotely. So,
John,
I think
Earl,
this is the phase that we're in now. We're in the flexible phase. We're in the collaboration phase. Now that remote learning is going, this is the fourth strand that we're looking at. I think as Rob Quaz said, and this is where the Fridays are going to come in, as well as the other days. There's no reason why prescriptively, just like we do with students with IEPs, and we look at individual things at home. For example, I've seen situations where you can play a card game and you pick a jack or whatever, and you, in the family, if there's 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, you do a push shop. So you do it as a group, and you could check off, yes, phys ed was done. Or you can sing songs or music. I think that the teachers, the guidance counselors, the principals can work on the specific situations like Emily and Paul just pointed out. So this is what we're doing as we're going, and only through input and collaboration. The key is, it's a new paradigm, it's a new design. And we have to be creative, and we have to be responsive. And these are all new, it's a new model. And only through this discourse, this collaboration, can we say, okay, you have 4 or 5 students at home. Why not have the same phys ed activity? Why not have the same music activity? Why not the same art activity? Everybody, so like I used the example, you pick a card and you do jump, you know, with jacks is jumping jacks. So therefore, everybody partakes in it. It's fun, and you check it off for all. So everybody has fulfilled that competency, so to speak.
Okay, Tammy, did you have a question?
I was just gonna ask John if he had somebody, like with Jan. Jan sends me stuff and I put it on Facebook for, you know, families. Do you have somebody that does that for, like, if you have information that needs to go out as well, like on Facebook? Because I know that's a big crowd of people that we're getting.
well, I send out a Purple Pages every week.
Yes. Yep.
And that usually gets put on Facebook by the PTA.
Yep.
And Les Elder puts it on there. And I also do the Twitter. And I also do the Blackboard Connect. I haven't really done Facebook.
Okay. Well, I'm putting it out there. If you would like to send me something, I don't mind putting it on the Facebook pages. That I do 4 of them, and I can
Do you see the Purple Pages? Is the Purple Pages still getting posted?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
It's
So,
it's just to one place, yes, but, and I can probably get that to it. I'm just putting it out there.
okay.
Do it or not.
Okay,
No, I mean, that's fine.
go ahead, John.
Just
Then I'll go
wanted to
ahead.
follow up with what Earl said. We are doing that with music and phys ed. Phys ed, he has a series of different movement activities. They're not, he's basically saying get out and move, and he has recess options and all that. So it's nothing specific like you have to do this. He's got one assignment, but the rest isn't. And then Melissa Dorsey, her music, I believe, goes like a K1 music and a 2-3 and a 4-5. So it's not just like every grade specific from what I've.
Right, but for me, that's still 3. Because I have, so I think.
And I understand, and I'm sure that Melissa Dorsey would work with you and make it 1. I mean, that's what we'd have to do. That's the type of interventions we would do. With, if you reach out to me or to Melissa Dorsey, we can come up with a different thing for your family.
Are you all set, Emily?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to touch on sort of what Earl was saying about how this is a new model, and I get that, and I agree with that to a certain degree. But we're not really creating a new model. We're responding to something. We're responding to a global pandemic. This is a very specific situation. So I just think that has to come into the conversation. You know, this isn't. For example, my daughter, my oldest, she does VLAX sometimes. That's a model. We chose to do it. It was supposed to be distance learning. Do you know what I mean? This is something that is being foisted upon everybody. Nobody signed up for this. So it is different than even really creating a new model. I think we have to just focus on what's the most important thing and remain flexible. And even our teachers, I feel bad for our teachers. They're working all the time. And I don't think that that's sustainable either, you know? So.
No, we all set. John, you all set?
Yep.
Okay, Earl, do you want, you're.
Okay, next up we have Jan, Newton Middle High School.
Right. So the recommendation for grades 6 through 12 was 30 minutes a class of work for 3 to 4 hours a day. With us going to the 4x1, the 4 days of instruction and the 1 day of self, which is social, emotional learning and fun, or flex time. Our teachers were doing 3 to 4 assignments a week. We're going to ask them to do 2 to 3 assignments a week now. We have heard from parents kind of a range from my student is done in an hour and a half. Isn't there more that they can do? To it's the perfect amount of work. My kids are working for 3 to 4 hours. They don't need my help. The teachers are providing enough links, resources, lectures that they don't need my help. To my child is completely overwhelmed and we don't even know where to start. So it's kind of running the gamut. Teachers, case managers, guidance counselors are setting up the Google online chats one-on-one with students or in small groups to try to provide some assistance. Some have regular check-in times now. Some they're trying to set up meeting times. There are a few students and parents that reached out to that they just are not getting any response from. Our daily attendance is 90 to 95%. Secretaries and administration call parents every day to check in with those who didn't check in for advisory. About half of the ones we call say, my child was doing work yesterday, they just forgot to check into advisory. We asked teachers to report if students were not doing any work for them or not checking in at all to their classes. And we have about 5% that are not doing work in 3 or more classes. So we've been trying to reach out to them as well to find out, are they needing any extra support, or you know, what can we do to help? But we were very glad to see that it was only about 5% of the students. Let's see what my next is. So 4th quarter will start on Monday. Middle school is our only grades that have quarter classes that would change to a new class on Monday for Unified Arts. We will not be starting those classes with them. It's really much too difficult to try to start a new class in art or music or library or you know, foods or something with a group of kids. They've never met the teacher's never met them. So the middle school 4th quarter Unified Arts classes will not be starting. If we're back in the building in May, they will have those classes, but otherwise they'll be done with their Unified Arts for the year. Teachers are working like nonstop, so part of these Flex Friday days, they'll be able to do some prep and planning as well, which I think will be a nice breather for them as well to try to get caught up with stuff. Let's see. Administration, we check in weekly with our teachers in Google Hangouts. It's now gone to their combined CPT or common planning time groups, which is nice. We're not meeting with 50 people at, separate meetings. We're now meeting with about 9 groups of people. So that's a good chance for them to share how they're doing, how the kids are doing, keeping up with information, that sort of thing. Chromebooks, we've given out 30. We did order 25 more that they're hoping will be in at the end of the week. It'll probably take 2 to 4 days to turn those around and get ready to hand them out. We've got 5 people on the waiting list kind of for right now. And then again, depending on how the year ends, we're thinking of a lot of different possibilities for graduation, for junior prom, how, do we do that next fall? The 8th grade lost the New York City trip. Do they do something next year? The 5th grade is losing their nature's classroom trip. Do they do something next year? So we're just kind of have a lot of potential plans out there depending on how the end of the year goes.
I have a question for Jan. I know we sent the word out to get Chromebooks. Do we know what lines we're taking them from, Nate, that cost? We don't have to give it to me now, but.
Yeah,
Cost of
I did sign a number, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I'll look into it while you guys still talk.
Okay, so that's good. Thank you. Anybody else got a question for her? Paul?
When does the Flex Week start? Next week?
Next week, we're kind of starting it this week anyway because of, Friday, we're not doing any new instruction on Friday. That's the time that kids can meet with their teachers to get extra help with any missing work they have.
Okay.
And then next Friday, we're going to plan family fun activities. Kids could still be doing work if they're, behind on something or need to get it done, but there won't be any new instruction, new assignments or anything. There'll be inside and outside scavenger hunts, things like that families could do together.
All right, thank you.
Earl, did you have something?
Okay, I have 2 kind of things to add. On the books, the Chromebooks, Jen Lavitt is looking into the grants. On my phone calls with the commissioner, it's apparent Title I, Title IV-A, things like that. There might be ways to embed the Chromebooks into that. And also Nate is currently making out a financial form where the state is filing it with the federal on things that are needed in order to make remote learning work due to the crisis that's going on now. So it may not necessarily come from the school budget itself. It might be able to come from the extended grants or from aid, but we'll know that is, it's very dynamic and challenging. Things change every day. I just got more of this at noontime. Nate and I spoke before, so we'll have it really in 3 areas. We'll have it in the funds, the Title I, perhaps from the school budget, perhaps, or the third thing from the aid that the state will get from the feds. And the other part of it regarding what Jan said, interestingly enough, Peg Hurd had sent some information which was a possible scenario of what graduation might look like. Just the week before, Jan was constantly playing out different scenarios of what it could look like. And ironically, one of the concepts that Jan had and the concept that Peg had some corollaries. But as Jan said, she's making a list of all those important student things that are once in a lifetime things we don't want kids to miss. And we're going to look at what they are, just like Jan said, and look at what scenarios we can have as time goes on.
Nate, you had your hand up? Nate?
Yeah, like Earl said, can you get me? Can you hear me?
We got you, yeah.
All right. Like Earl said, we are trying to get them out of some of the grants, and it does look like that's going to happen. But currently, they're in the 2820 function under new equipment. You won't see it on this expense report. You'll see it on the April one.
Okay. Anybody else? Benay? Earl, do you have anything else?
No, I think that basically, like we pointed out, there was some good collaborative points made. I think to some degree, you look at Chromebooks, and we went around, and Jan and John, they had sent like one out to a home, and then when there were 4 or 5 students at the house, they went back around, and as they had more Chromebooks, they gave more out, and they checked back with them. So the same is in effect here. As we adjust the instruction, we have to be flexible to not only provide the Chromebooks and the materials, but also deal with that 4th strand in the mental work that we need to do and the awareness of the severe impact on homes.
Okay, anybody, anything else for Earl? Because we'll move on. Okay, moving on to
Rob,
what?
Rob Qua.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
How's everybody doing? Okay, so as far as my update, I can tell you that we've gone almost fully remote. The entire elementary school from preschool to 5 is fully remote. Everybody is continuing to be extremely creative in finding ways to turn their prescriptive services into long-distance prescriptive services. What we are going to do in order to be compliant with IDEA and all the other federal things that go into special ed is we are going to send home written prior notice to every parent specifying how we are going to deliver their services to every kid with an IEP. And so hopefully this will be A, notice, and B, another source of information to where they can reach out if they feel like something's not working or I haven't seen that. It'll be a way for communication to be open with case managers, because that is really what it is all about. The paras continue to do a magnificent job as far as helping with everything that comes up. The food program has been running like a well-oiled machine. Like I said, we still have a couple kids coming in for direct services. But if, Bob said next week we got to close the building down because of the fire sprinklers or something, I think we could go completely fully remote. But right now I've got one case manager who's feeling comfortable coming in, and a few parents who are feeling comfortable allowing their kids to access that support. So we're going to keep doing it. Otherwise, we're keeping up with our timelines. We are holding meetings with parents via Zoom or Google Hangouts or conference calls. So we're keeping up with everything as far as IEP paperwork and deadlines and things like that. We just made it through another round of compliance inspection from the state, which was good. So I would say at this point, even though we definitely would like to see more participation from our overall population of students with needs, I think we are on the right track to, doing this the way it needs to be done.
Now, hey, Earl, did you need a vote on that new calendar?
Yes.
Okay. And the day it's going to end is June 11th. Is that right?
June 10th.
Well, you got a TW. What's TW?
Teacher's workshop.
Okay.
Students, June 10th.
Okay. So do I have a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Oh, wait a minute. Then Paul, okay. Do I have any more discussion on that?
Also, Doug, part of that was what the vacation would look like.
Okay. So we're changing it to the last school day is June 10th. Okay.
And also the April 27, 28, 29 will be no new work except for credit recovery. So it will not be a full vacation week, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31.
Okay.
As states there.
No,
Current calendar, you have a current calendar there.
yeah, in front of me, page 12.
Is approving the amended calendar.
Yeah. So we have that motion. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Anybody before I start? Paul?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Peg? Peg?
Oh, Peg.
Aye. Okay. Emily,
Aye.
I think we've lost,
We lost Melissa
Melissa.
again.
A long while ago.
yeah, I thought her seat in the car was empty. Okay, moving on. Did you have anything else, Earl? We can move on.
Yeah, no, we have Chris Farrow.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris.
Chris is doing a fantastic job, and we have Tim Eldridge that's working hand in hand. Chris makes the food and Tim gets the food out. Okay, I'll have them do a tag team. We'll start off with Chris, so then Chris can sign off.
Okay, great. Thanks. So, yeah, it's actually Mary Connors and her staff that are on site making your food. I just kind of help them with the administrative portion and help the district with the administrative portion. As Earl said, getting the relationship up and running with Stratford County CAP and getting things straightened out with the DOE was the big part. Took some doing, but that is all set. And we just submitted our first meal claims for March to CAP. I think it was Monday. So they're filing that claim, and I submitted the information to Nate today. Get that all straightened out and get that reimbursement back from CAP. And Mary and the staff have been doing a great job controlling waste, making sure the right amount of meals are going out, and our preliminary reporting that Mary and I did looks pretty good that that reimbursement is covering all the expenses on that. So that's good. It's right where it needs to be. Participation is still strong. It is down a little bit. We're averaging about 210, 220 meals, students a day as of last week. It fluctuates a little bit week to week, but it's still going pretty strong. Haven't heard of any problems with deliveries or anything else. That all seems to be going good. And Earl and I did briefly talk about just the other day that new modified schedule you're working on, the new end date for school and kind of what that looks like with meals. And as we get closer to June and we know what this whole thing looks like, I told Earl that between us and Stratford County CAP, there is the ability to keep meals going even through the summer. Stratford County CAP typically does summer meals in the area. So we can definitely keep the food service going one way or the other with the federal funding well into June and beyond.
Wow.
I do have a question. Chris, would that change our contract in any way?
In terms of the school end date,
Yeah.
a little bit. Doesn't really so much change the contract as it would the budget that we submitted, because the budget that we have submitted obviously was on a normal school year.
Yeah.
If anything, it reduces your overall expenses a little bit. But that's really, I mean, right now that's kind of part of the phase that we're in with the emergency feeding and this program, is we really need to see what's going to happen with if we're coming back to the buildings or going to be doing remote learning through the end of the year. And then once we know that for sure, we'll kind of initiate that conversation with Nate about squaring up the regular budget that was based on the regular school year.
Peg, I'm sorry.
Chris, I have a quick question, just so that I understand. I know that CAP is supposedly supplying the money for the food. What about Mary and her crew? Are they paying for their salaries also, or are you guys, and we are still paying?
Well, so we are paying it all, you know, pass through costs like our normal contract. Really, the difference with what's going on with CAP is typically for the meals we're serving for you, SAU 64 is claiming those for reimbursement to the USDA. Under the relationship we have set up for this, Stratford County CAP is claiming those for the reimbursement from USDA. And there's an agreement in place where SAU 64 is billing them for those meals, and Stratford County CAP is paying that money to you guys. It was the way we set it up to go under their their USDA agreement for summer food service, rather than get you guys into Seamless Summer, which would have been your other option. And under Seamless Summer, you wouldn't have been able to provide free meals until last week. And if you got to the end of the school year early, those type of things, and wanted to continue doing meals, you wouldn't have been able to do it under the federal funding. So there were those type of reasons are the reasons why we got you into that agreement with Stratford County CAP. And they're actually passing through an amount of reimbursement that's higher than you would have gotten under a seamless summer option, because the reimbursement rates for summer food service program are higher than seamless summer option reimbursement rates.
Great, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Anybody else for Chris? Do you have any more, Chris?
That's everything I got.
Okay.
Doug, before he goes, I think that you could see the way that he responded to what Peg had said, and that was a very good question that Peg asked. He has been incredibly responsible for the fact that we have food for these kids. And I've never worked with two people like Chris Farrow and Steve Gagnon that are like, we're outsourcing things, but they do not skip a beat, and their heart is with us, and their heart is with our students in our homes, and I, you know, I just can't thank them enough. They've you know, I called them, you know, Doug knows, he called Steve Gagnon, and Steve is here. These two have been with us from the outset of this every step of the way, and we never could have done all this without them. And just a big thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
I feel the same. And what the rest
Thank
of the
you.
board. Yeah. Okay, Earl, who's next?
Tim.
Okay, Tim, you're up.
Hi there. So some of my thunder has already been taken, but that's all right. We have still the 4 buses running 3 times a day, 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. As of April 3rd, we went from the 2:20 departure to a 10 a.m. departure, which seems to be working well. Parent pickup, and for students that would typically be a walker, they're coming to Newt between 11 and noon. Certainly has helped with whether it's the kitchen staff or custodians staying late. Move those bins back into the kitchen and any leftover food, so that's worked out well. Let's see, we do have 1 special ed bus running at this point on Tuesdays. Other than that, as Rob pointed out, that most everything else has gone to the remote. And certainly the paras, the kitchen staff, and the bus drivers, they are all doing still a fantastic job. So shout out to them.
Is that it? Anybody else, Earl? Anybody have any questions for Tim?
Yeah, Tim has been fantastic, and his fleet has been unbelievable, and as you well know, the accolades they've had are well deserved.
Anybody else? Moving on.
Steve Gagnon, the man behind the scenes.
I don't know where he is.
Steve, are you there?
He might have stepped out.
He must be trying to connect the phones, but I think Jan pointed out, and we've been with Steve every inch of the way. We have 25 Chromebooks that should be here at the end of the week, and as Jan said, it'll take a couple days to hook them up, and then we're keeping our eyes on things, and anything else we need, he will get for us. Peg Heard helped with the broadband, and that was a big help, and everyone has collaborated and kept the ball going. Thank you. That is the end of our update.
There's Steve now. He's back.
And you know, we did receive the laptops to the Chromebooks today.
Can't hear you, Steve.
I
think he said he received the laptops today.
We received them today, yes.
The Chromebooks, yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're gonna start prepping those. They
Come here.
Thank you, Steve.
okay.
Anybody else? Earl? Can we move on?
Well, we do appreciate the collaboration and the input in the board has been fantastic. And all the points that were made by all the members of the board will be very helpful as the administration works to bring everything to fruition.
All right, moving on. Okay, moving on to financials. So be page 12 to 39. Do I have any questions on the operating budget? Peg?
Okay. Not, well, I guess questions, but going through it, I did not go through my normal, line 1235. Why is it over? Why is it under? But just glancing at some of the lines that I'm wondering, because we are now in remote learning, should we actually be expending those lines, i.e. out of district students, those charges? I mean, are the students still out of district? Rob?
Yes, those, unfortunately, those students are still going to be receiving services also remotely, but from their base schools. So the bills will still kill them in.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Good question.
Anything else, Peg?
Oh, I've got about 5 of these. The next one is Voc Tech. We're paying tuition, but we are obviously not sending students because they're not having classes. What's happening with those?
Jan?
My understanding is they're doing remote learning with their students as well. So they are still getting instruction.
Yeah, my daughter does cosmetology and they are.
Okay, thank you.
Peg, number 3?
Number 3, staff development. I'm not sure if much of that is going on right now with, unless they're doing remote learning with colleges. That would be Nathan.
Most of the staff development, and I'll have the principal jump in, are dealing with professional development, planning, and collaboration in terms of remote remote learning. Jan and John, do you want to weigh in?
Well, I was talking more, Earl, about teachers actually taking classes that we reimburse the teachers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So that would be a question for Nate.
Yeah, there's still some going on, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Nate.
Number 4. Are we saving anything on transportation gas since we are only doing 1 run a day versus 2 runs a day?
I think
something to look. Yes.
We lost him.
And then co-curricular, extracurricular stipends, since not an awful lot is really going on.
Correct.
Okay.
You will see it in this expense report, but I gotta meet with the principals to make sure that the teachers still aren't doing or are doing some of the co-curricular stuff.
Jan?
Jan and I talked about that. I'll have Jan weigh in. We've already, okay, Jan, you can weigh in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the ones that are the year-long stipends, they are continuing to still work on it. Honor Society is still collecting community service hours. Even though the New York City trip is canceled, she's still working with the tour director and working on refunds. Student council has still been reaching out to their kids, talking about plans they had for this year. What are they going to do next year? So those stipends are still doing that. Sports, I know we haven't started the sports season, but many of the coaches had already held practices with the kids and had plans. So they're the ones that are really in limbo right now, is just the spring sports stipends.
I got a question.
Yep.
Are we going to waive the 20 hours for graduation, or are we doing that this time?
No, I've spoken with every parent of the kids who still need more hours, and many of them have them. They just need to turn them in. And others are either volunteering to rake leaves for their neighbors, remotely tutoring kids in town. Some are delivering food. Some are writing wellness wishes cards for the nursing homes and for hospitals and things like that. So I feel strongly that everyone that's going to need the 20 will have their 20.
Peg, were you done?
Yes, I was done. Thank you, Nate, and thank you, Jan.
Paul?
Just a quick question. When you say, for Jan, when you say delivering food, is that something they're delivering it on the bus with the school, or is it something separate?
No, it's something that the student had actually started on his own. He had been collecting food and making food bags to deliver before this started. And so he's being a little more careful when he delivers them. He leaves them on the doorstep versus, hands them to the people. But he's still working on, those hours that he had already started on.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else before I move on? I can go to financials. You okay with that now, Peg?
With the expense report, yes.
Okay. All right, page 40. Monthly revenues, anybody? That would be 40 and 41. Okay. Monthly grants, 42.
Nathan has his hand up.
Sorry, Nathan, I'm reading my paperwork. Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that on the revenue, we received our E-rate funding from FY19. You guys know how it always comes in well beyond the fiscal year. But that was about $22,000 we received.
So that was for 2018 and 2019?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. So it's 22,000, okay, for E-rate. Okay, all right. All right, moving on, monthly grants, 42 through 46. Any questions? Going, gone. 47, food service, February 2020. Any questions?
How are we doing with that, Nate?
Going. Unfortunately, the comparison to last year, that binder is at the office, so I don't have that number. Because usually I try to tell you how we were at this time last year, as far as being under or over.
Okay, well, I'm just looking at the actual, and our adjusted net profit and loss is $798 that we made. It does not have parentheses in it on them.
For that month, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we're doing good. I just can't tell you how good we are compared to last year.
No, that's fine. I just figured that was probably something that we'd be looking at since everything going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Paul, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So during this, when they're doing the deliveries and stuff like that, I assume the menus aren't as elaborate. Are we making money right now to do it during this, just to hand deliver a few things, or are we losing money this way?
I think it's too early to tell right now.
Okay.
Because, we've just doing it for a couple of weeks now. It's hard to tell.
Okay. I wasn't sure if, like, the food selection, I mean, they make one thing for everybody, if it's easier to do it that way, or if it's, we don't have to have a variety of salad bar and all these different things if it's easier to save money this way. So, okay, no worries.
And also, because we're using CAP, we're getting 100% free. So, I mean, we're getting all that income from the state. Whereas it would just be free and reduced.
Awesome.
So that's going to help too.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Moving on. So page 48, we don't have to worry about. Food service analysis. That's what how many was serving, so that'll probably go away.
Yeah, that just comes with it. It's just information.
Okay.
The prior page is the important one.
Okay, all right. So that's it for that. So we're through the financial. Moving on, we're going to B, A. So that's an old calendar. What are we supposed to do with this one, Earl?
This is next year's.
That's the one for next year.
Well, I thought we just approved it. Or that was, okay, I see what you're doing. Oh, I'm sorry.
Doug, you're right. I gave it to you folks to look at a while back, but we never approved it because we went remote, and at that time we couldn't discuss it.
Okay, I had the two confused for a second. Senior moment.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So I'm gonna need a motion to approve next year's, I'm sorry.
I'll make
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 calendar.
You got it first, Paul. You're okay.
Ha ha.
Peg was slow. Do we have any
I'll second
discussion? Any discussion? Paul?
Aye.
Aye. Peg?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
It's approved, Earl. All right, all right. Going down, Bob, don't go away, you're up next. Going to 5, the bid on the softball field, metal pipe.
Thank you for putting this in, by the way.
Yep, you're welcome. So you do have a copy from Novel Iron Works, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That price there does include a 10% discount because I can pick it up with the 1 ton, then we don't have any transportation charge either. So they do need 100% down payment on the order, and then they can put it into production if you decide to approve it tonight.
Barry, I'm sorry, Peg, I was right. So go ahead, Peg.
No, you were. That's all right. I was being quiet. Bob, was this both? I mean, I'm trying to think back that they would donate 1 if we paid for 1. Is that still true or what?
What is true is what you have before you. They gave us a quote and they gave us a 10% discount.
But is this for 2 poles?
For 2. Correct. It's for 2.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Because it did not seem to say that anywhere.
Okay.
But I do have some questions. These are the posts to hook the sign to, isn't that not right?
It's a what?
These are the posts to hook the sign to.
Correct. They have a base plate on the bottom.
Yeah, okay.
Base plate gets welded onto the bottom. They get cut to length.
Okay, now
then we paint them.
Okay, my next 2 questions is, are we jumping the gun early? Because we got to get the wiring in and get the base.
No, it shouldn't matter.
This is going to be like a long lead anyway to get in production.
Okay.
So, I mean, we've got to get them a check, and it's still going to be at 30 days out before we even get them after that.
So you think we'll be able to get the electrical and the base put in a short period of time?
Well, remember the conduit's in there, but we need to put the other pieces together that we had from our original project list that Jan had helped us with. So we do need to organize all those pieces as well.
We got to run the wiring down the conduit.
Correct.
We got to pour the base.
Dig the holes, yep.
Pour the base.
Put the concrete in, rebar. Yep.
So we don't know at some point if we're going to get that by donations or if we're going to have to pay for it. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, I'm just asking. All right.
Yep.
So,
good point.
Do we have a motion?
I will make a motion to go ahead with this and spend the $1,161.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? So
Where's this come out of?
Yeah, that's the next question. Go ahead. Good question.
Out of Tim's gas money.
What?
I feel at this point we could definitely absorb it out of the operating budget.
Somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Bob.
Oh, sorry, Bob. I'm not gonna put your hand.
Well, depending on where you wanted to place it, I mean, it could be in care of grounds potentially.
Okay. Well,
could be
That's
what?
I was thinking.
I mean, it's a bottom line budget.
So we can move it any way we want. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no problem. Paul?
Aye.
Aye.
Peg, aye.
Emily? Okay, going forward.
Yay.
Now I have some more questions for Bob. Uh-oh.
Okay.
A bunch of them. All right. The status on the air handler.
All right, last week on Thursday, I received the preliminary specification in the drawings.
Yeah.
And I went through that with 3 of my staff. So it was Ken Bassett, Mark Salinger from the elementary school, and Mike from the high school. So all of us had gone through the package. So I had some questions in it and whatnot. So I hope before we run out a week that I'll be able to have a conference call in with the contractor from Harriman and be able to get the bid package finalized.
Okay. Now the other one, the status on the air conditioner for the office? Where were we?
That's complete. We were originally scheduled that for the school vacation in April. But obviously, since we didn't have people in school, we scheduled it and did the work when there were no children in the school.
So have we been using it? But probably not now.
We haven't had to use it.
So what was the total cost of that now?
What do we have?
It's all right. Come talk to me.
That's okay.
Don't
Yeah.
worry. The water fountain done?
The what?
The water fountain at the MES, the PTA.
It's a John question.
It's
Water
John.
fountain.
Oh, there's
You
John.
say water fountain?
No, we haven't started that yet.
Okay.
Bob's been doing other projects, so when we settles down a little bit, we'll talk about it.
Okay, so it's still up in the air then. Okay, all right. So have we got a balance we have to pay? $1,000? $1,200? Right?
We haven't done any of the work.
It was
to that.
roughly $1,000.
$1,000.
How much?
Are you talking about the water?
Balance. Yeah, balance.
Well, we haven't priced it out yet. It's about $2,400, $22, $24 I've seen. That's the estimate. We've done it up at Newt. Do you remember how much it was there, Bob?
No, I don't remember offhand.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't have any problem paying for that also. The
No,
balance.
we had the money set us, well, the money we had that was budgeted for artists in residence is from the previous year was there.
Which was 1,800. So
Yeah, that's 1,800.
Overall center.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more thing. For the rest of the year, do we want to meet once a month? That's up to the board.
Sure. I mean, unless we have some pressing issue that we need to get through, we can call a meeting as long as we call it, within 72 hours?
Well, if there's an emergency, it's 24.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I
we can do
mean,
that. Yeah,
if something comes up, then other than that, we could do it once a month. I think that'd be fine, you know?
Peg, wait a minute.
Hi, I'm fine.
No, I'm just asking you. Nate's raising his hand. Wait a minute. Go ahead, Nate.
I just want to reiterate that the manifest will have to figure out logistics for that.
Yeah, we can come in and
We try to do it every couple of weeks.
leave it on the counter. We can come in and sign it.
Yeah.
Definitely, yep.
Okay. So everybody, do we want to make that a motion? I make a motion. We meet once a month for the rest of the year.
I'll second it.
Okay, I'm Douglas and Paul. No, Peg, I'm sorry. Sorry, Paul, I didn't mean to do that to you.
Question, is it the first week or the second week we're gonna meet?
Well, the
First,
first week is the PTA meeting, so we don't usually do it on the first week. We usually do our meetings on the second.
I should say the second or the fourth week are we gonna meet, not,
second,
that's what I meant.
the second week, always
So it's
first.
gonna always a second week, okay.
That's what I meant.
So the fourth week meetings are gonna be done, okay.
Cancel. And I know it's gonna, the policy committee and the foot, but they can meet anytime. Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any more discussion?
Because right now, Doug,
Go ahead.
whatever we to do in terms of once we find out where we're going, as far as the rest of the year goes, any other further thing we do with the calendar, the first time we meet in May, we can adjust that.
Okay. And yeah, if it changes, we can change the meeting.
Yeah.
I say aye. Paul? Paul? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Peg?
Aye.
Peg, I got it. Thank you, everybody.
I was getting a food delivery, I'm sorry, I did have some Pringles.
That isn't very good. That wasn't either. Oh, Pringles. Okay, all
Hungry.
right. Moving on. Do we have any committee board member reports?
No, I think Bob covered the facilities part of it with any updates we may have for that, so I think we're covered there.
Bob, do you have something?
I just wanted to say, did you want me to give you a report ahead of time on facilities for each of your monthly meetings too?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
That's up to Paul, I'm sorry.
Yes, by all means, that will give us a good heads up, because, so are we gonna alternate the facilities and policy every other month now, or what are we gonna do as far as that goes? Should we meet still, in June, or how do you want to, I don't know if we should not have any more facility meetings, especially with all the work going on.
Yeah. Well, up to you guys. It's your board. Jan?
How
That
are we?
policy IKF that I'd like addressed at the next
Okay.
policy meeting, whenever that is.
What's IKF?
It's graduation requirements.
Okay, all right. Well, I can see why we can't do them both. I mean, at the time, do them right during the meeting.
We can do that.
Oh,
Yeah, discuss them and prove them and send them to the next meeting.
I mean, if we're only doing this once a month now, I can't see why one of the committees can't meet from 5 to 5:30, another committee meet from 5:30 to 6, and then it's all done. I mean, we're already only doing one a month. I mean, it's not going out of people's way to meet at 5, so.
I have no
Sure.
problem with that. That's
We
what
can
you
do
want to do. I just gotta tell Steve, so he doesn't get mixed up.
Okay.
Yeah, I had it mixed up. Is that's up to Emily and Paul. Then I'll go to, okay, and I'll go to Peg's, okay with you? Peg? Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
aye.
Committee.
Yeah, I forgot.
I zoned out a while ago.
Well, 3 days ago. I just wanted to say the budget committee did not meet last month, and I've not heard anything about this month. But I do have to say that if they do meet, I will not be going to the town hall to meet.
What?
And so if they don't want to do it remotely, I
They're not gonna go there.
will not be attending.
That's
Sorry, I'm old.
because of your young age.
I'm old. Come on.
It's only what you feel inside. Anything else before we move on? Thank everybody. Okay, I need a motion to go into non-public.
I'll make a motion to go into non-public.
I'll second.
I think Emily and Peg were racing on that one, weren't they? Let me write that down. Emily, I think said it, and then Peg. I'm sorry, Paul.
That's okay.
Okay.
Sorry,
And
Paul.
7:18.
7:18, okay, all right. That'll be under RSA 91A, 32A, B, C, L, and J, and K. Paul?
Aye.
Aye. Peg?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
So we're in non-public. I gotta go tell Steve. So I guess all we need is just the board.
Get out of here.
Okay, sorry. Okay, to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Peg and who else? Is that Emily?
Second. I'll do it.
Oh, okay, all right. Paul?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.